You ask for the stones, and we bring you the stones. So we got to do headlines. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time. My apologies for everybody that got derailed, that we didn't get the headlines done in time. But that's what happens on this show from time to time. Things get derailed. So all of that being said, I do want to remind you that the Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tonight, right here on 252 ESPN Radio. 8 p.m. Baseball tonight will start at 7 p.m. and first pitch from Nationals Park is set for again shortly after 8 o'clock. So you definitely want to tune in for that. The headlines are brought to you by Taqueria San Luis, and today is Taco Tuesday, which means tacos are just $1.25. That's right. That's right. Head on down there until 9 o'clock tonight. You can get tacos for $1.25. They have made from scratch, delicious, authentic cuisine. Try the nachos. I think they're the best in the state of North Carolina. They've got burritos, tortas, and try. I would suggest you just take a couple of tacos and try something else. It'll keep you coming back. The food is unbelievable, and the people are great too. It's Taqueria San Luis, 1706 Highway 70, just outside of New Bern.
By Jeremy Fowler, ESPN.com. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Le'Veon Bell failed to reach an agreement on a contract extension before Monday's 4 p.m. Eastern Time franchise tag deadline, and his agent said that means this likely will be the running back's final season with the team. Quote, his intention was to retire as a Steeler, Adisa Bakari told Adam Schefter, but now there's no deal. The practical reality is this now likely will be Le'Veon's last season as a Steeler.
I'm on Le'Veon's side to some degree on this. I think he's a, transcendent sort of player. The kind of guy who, like his agent said, deserved to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, and I think he could be a part of great things going forward. Unfortunately for Le'Veon Bell, he comes in a time when the running back position had basically been run to a particular point where it was deemed not as valuable, in the sense of we're not going to invest a whole lot of money in one guy. The passing era of football had changed the way organizations thought about the running back. And gone were these days of, well, we're going to give our franchise guy all this money, X amount of money. It was quarterbacks, and they're in this group all by themselves. And then, a few defensive players, maybe a wide receiver, but running back pretty low on the totem pole when it comes to the amount of money. And Le'Veon's the exception to the rule. He is a guy that can probably be the feature guy and get a ton of not only touches out of the backfield as running back, but certainly the versatility of being able to catch out of the backfield. He brought that dimension. And there's a lot of guys that are similar, while I wouldn't say exactly, because Le'Veon's been the best. I mean, it's hard to argue. There's maybe a handful of guys that maybe do certain things right at that top level, but he's in the short conversation of one of the best current running backs in the NFL. The problem is, again, he wants quarterback money. He wants real good guaranteed money. And I want to say I'm on his side. I'd love to see him get that. And I'd love to see him get that from Pittsburgh. They made him a really good offer. What's interesting is, based on what current running backs make, I mean, they're not even in the same. I mean, the offer they made to him and the franchise, there's nobody else that plays running back in the NFL that gets anywhere close to that kind of money. And that's ultimately what he and his agent are fighting, is the current standard. How do you make, because that businesses live and breathe by this. I'm sorry, look around the market. No running back gets paid this. That's their whole argument. You can say Le'Veon does this or Le'Veon does that, but the organizations are going to stick behind, we're offering you $14 million. The next closest guy is in guaranteed money is making like what, 8.
Yeah, Devontae Freeman's making 8. LaShawn McCoy's making, well, LaShawn McCoy, let's not even get into that, but he was set at 8. Saquon Barkley, who's the number 2 overall pick in the draft, is making just a touch under 8 this year. So, to me, that's the biggest thing, because you're right about the running back position and how for so many years it seemed like it was sort of dying and going away. But Le'Veon Bell is part of this young group that's kind of bringing it back. And the reason they are bringing it back is because they're sort of revolutionizing the position. Sort of gone are the days of the guy who just puts his shoulder down and runs between the tackles. These top running backs in the league, when you think about Le'Veon, when you think about David Johnson, when you even think about Ezekiel Elliott, these are guys who have the ability to really make an impact in the passing game. And so, as much as I am with you, I am on Le'Veon's side with this, I'm also on the Steelers' side. I don't think anybody is necessarily to blame here, because for the Steelers, why would you commit the kind of money like that to one guy when you feel like you can probably go find better value somewhere else, right? There's other guys who are constantly coming up. There's other guys who want their opportunity. Shoot, the Pittsburgh Steelers have James Conner already in place. We know James Conner's a terrific running back. They just drafted Jalen Samuels this year, who, if you want me to make an immediate comparison for Jalen Samuels and what he can be in the NFL, it's a Le'Veon Bell type player. So for the Steelers, it makes sense to not lock up $15 million a year and guarantee it to Le'Veon Bell when we've seen him get injured before, and then all of a sudden you're hampering your team. But for Le'Veon, yes, it makes sense to be frustrated when you look across the league, and Sammy Watkins got like $16 or $17 million from the Kansas City Chiefs. Sammy Watkins had like 40 catches last season. Le'Veon Bell last year carried the ball 321 times. He caught 85 passes, 406 touches for Le'Veon Bell last season. The Pittsburgh Steelers as a whole ran 821 plays. So nearly half of the touches of any kind for the Pittsburgh Steelers went through Le'Veon Bell. So sure, they utilize him, but that doesn't mean you necessarily have to pay the guy like that, because it quickly becomes, like you're talking about quarterback money, you just can't justify giving a guy like that money, that kind of money, when you've got 21 other positions that you have to worry about on the football field, and essentially paying 2 quarterbacks isn't going to be a recipe for success long term, because Le'Veon blows out. Look what happened this last season, because I know we're going to talk about Earl Thomas probably at some point today, and what situation that is with the Seahawks. Last year, the Seattle Seahawks guaranteed Cam Chancellor. It was a 3-year contract worth a little over $30 million. They guaranteed 25 of that. Cam Chancellor had a career-ending neck injury. He's probably going to retire and never see a football field again, but the Seahawks are still on the hook for that $25 million guaranteed. Le'Veon Bell blows out his knee again. The Pittsburgh Steelers are hamstrung by that for the foreseeable future. So I don't think it's necessarily anybody's fault. I think it's just the nature of the sport and the nature of the salary cap and the nature of when we're talking about guaranteed contracts compared to the NBA. It's hard to guarantee contracts in the NFL compared to the NBA because football is just such a dangerous sport. I know you want to take care of the guys, but also from a business sense, it doesn't make sense to guarantee so much money.
To crystal ball it, because there's all this cause and effect that happens, and he's asking for all this money now, it wouldn't surprise me for him to end up, right? Isn't this the way this goes down? He's going to end up for less money. He's going to take less money to go to New England to win a championship and to also kind of stick it to Pittsburgh at the same time. That's what happens sometimes. So
I mean, don't you think that
can you imagine Tom Brady with Le'Veon Bell, with the Patriots with a Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, but Le'Veon doesn't strike you as the kind of guy who's willing to take any less money at all, right?
I mean, none of them do. God, I thought Boogie Cousins, to me, was the like, right. I want to be the guy, and I want to get paid lots of money, and then, hey, I'll sign for less money and go play with Golden State.
But that's the thing, and that's why I don't think Le'Veon is that worried about it, because as much as he says he wants to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, nothing about Le'Veon Bell screams like, I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler for life, right? He doesn't have like the Jerome Bettis qualities to him, where you've already gotten to the point where you associate him directly. So for him to leave, and I think he knows he can go get more money somewhere else. Don't you think a guy or a team like the Detroit Lions and Matt Stafford, who haven't had a running back in God knows how long, would pay out the wazoo to get a guy like Le'Veon Bell? There are plenty of other situations where I think a team will be willing to shell out that kind of money. and Le'Veon could come in and be a part of a winning culture. I just don't think the Steelers are that group because they see what they have behind them and say, we don't need to pay you that much money. You're good, but you're just not worth it to us. By Darren Rovell. Bryce Harper not only gave Washington Nationals fans a treat by winning the Home Run Derby at Nationals Park on Monday night, he also gave them cheaper tickets. Before the contest, the Nationals sent out an email to their mailing list promising to reduce ticket prices of lower-level seats by $1 for every home run Harper hit, down to as low as $1. Harper hit 45 home runs en route to winning the trophy. With lower-level tickets in 2 sections starting at less than that amount, it means tickets for those seats to 5 games will sell for $1 while supplies last, as long as fans use one of the 2 discount codes sent out by the team.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday, and I thought, did the promotions team really think about that when they made this? So I'd see he hit like 13 in the first round. What did you say it was? I mean, it's got to be a good
It's $45
discount. I mean, that's a good discount, right?
Oh, it's a great discount. Yeah, like they said, it's lower level seats for starters, and it said there's 2 sections where that means those tickets will now be $1.
They're gone already, though, aren't they?
Oh, I'm sure they are. And when the thing is, see, this is because you're right about there's some promo guy somewhere who everybody raised their eyebrow, but then you look a little deeper and you realize that, wait, no, there's a stroke of genius here because there are only certain games eligible for these tickets.
You got to read the fine print.
You can either go to see the New York Mets on July 31st and August 1st, or you can go see the Cincinnati Reds on 3 particular dates in early August. So you're going to a baseball stadium in the middle of the summer, late July, early August. Washington, D.C. is built on a swamp. People forget that. It is hot there. Yeah. And by the way, you have to go see the Mets or the Reds, 2 of the worst teams in baseball this season.
It was still thoroughly entertaining and a great show last night, the home run. And a great, I mean, to see what that was potential to me of what could that DC stadium be if it was right. So think about what you saw last night and then think about what if the Nationals had playoff success. What kind of environment Nationals Park could be. I mean, you kind of got a taste of that place could be loud, rowdy, and fun. But is that it? Is that the biggest celebration that will take place in Nationals Park this year?
Oh, this year, 100%. Yeah, Nats might not even make the freaking playoffs this year. It's terrible. I will say, like, before we close up Home Run Derby talk, people hate on Chris Berman, and people act like they don't like Chris Berman doing the Home Run Derby. Right. And I understand his vernacular tends to be a little limited. I don't think he knows any baseball term other than back, and moonshot because he just uses the same 2 terms over
California.
And over. Right. But we missed him last night. I missed him last night. I don't remember this from last year, but I do know that the combination of Carl Ravitch and Mark Teixeira was not doing it for me last night. And as you have guys just rattling off, I mean, it wasn't even just the 9 pitches, 9 home runs that Harper had, where I just thought there was no enthusiasm. But throughout the whole entire night, every single time a guy got on a roll, the commentators were silent or they were. Teixeira was being way too technical about it all and breaking down these guys' swings for me time and time again or the strategy and you need to take your time out here. I'm like, no, can we just marvel that this guy just hit this ball 470 feet and scream about it and be a little bit more on the fan side? I don't know. I just thought the enthusiasm was lacking.
I didn't like the stadium music. I just thought it also detracted from, like, while it's going on, like, play as much as you want, but when the 4 minutes starts, turn it off.
Right. The crowd noise will be enough.
Yes,
the crowd noise
I don't need
suffice.
to hear, turn down for what? Like, jammed while the guys are, I just don't need it.
Turn down for what? By Kevin Seifert, ESPN.com. Retired receiver Terrell Owens, soon to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, wants to play this season in the Canadian Football League. Owens, who is 44, activated a procedural window that requires the Edmonton Eskimos, who own his CFL rights, to offer him a contract or release him from their negotiation list within 10 days, a source confirmed to ESPN. Jason Starazik, a Canada-based agent who is representing Owens on the matter, told TSN that Owens absolutely 100% wants to play in the CFL.
How old is Terrell Owens again?
44 years old.
Oh,
his last season
he's
was
my age.
Your age. His last season was in 2010. He caught 72 passes in 14 games with the Bengals. He briefly played in 2012 for the Allen Wranglers of the Indoor Football League. Then went to training camp with the Seahawks later that summer, who released him ultimately. I know he posted something on Twitter the other day. He posted himself doing a 40-yard dash, and his time was 4.45. So T.O.'s still got wheels. I don't know. I mean, I would do this as a CFL team, right? The dude can probably still play.
I mean, I don't know any specifically like the needs of the Edmonton Eskimos. I'm with you on I would give the guy a shot and see if he could benefit my team.
They're in second place in the West.
Oh yeah, they're 3-2, and so they're obviously trying to focus on catching Calgary. I think obviously he wants to try to play again. I think that it'd be interesting if a CFL team gives him an opportunity, but I mean, understand this: that him playing in the Arena League is a circus. Them trying to sell tickets. The CFL is to every Canadian Football League team, it's serious. They're trying to win games. It's not like, wow, Terrell Owens, we could sell tickets. They're going to sell tickets. In CFL in Canada, they're not having trouble. It's not like the Allen Wranglers or whatever it is who's
right.
Got 12 people going to a game. So Owens wouldn't be there to be a sideshow. He'd only be there if he's a contributing portion of the football team, which I'd like to think that he could. I mean, he still looks like he's in good shape. I mean, Jerry Rice played until he was about 40 years old. I wouldn't sleep on the fact, the defensive secondaries are not as strong as they are in the NFL, but one would think that he's definitely lost a step or two having not played competitive football for a couple of years.
Yeah, but he gets a running start because it's the CFL.
He does get if he's one of those receivers, he can get a running start. But I'm interested to see. I hope, at the very least, just to give us something to talk about, that someone gives him an opportunity in Canada.
I think somebody will. I guess it has to be Edmonton first. They've got the 10 days where they have to either commit to him or waive him, essentially, I guess. I saw they did some deep dive in here. The Edmonton Eskimos receiving core actually looks pretty good this season, led by Daquille Williams, former Auburn wide receiver. Some people may remember him.
Right.
Through 5 games, already has 556 yards to go along with 3 touchdowns. Darrell Walker, his running mate, 386 yards, and Kenny Stafford has 320 yards. So you're talking about 3 wide receivers, one of them already over 500 yards through 5 games, and the other 2 already at 300 yards, averaging each of them over 14 yards a catch.
Yeah.
So
well, and that reminds me too. It's if you're wondering, because since we're already about 5 weeks into that CFL season, it's not too late to play CFL fantasy. Go to CFL.ca and start your CFL fantasy team today.
Is that real?
Yeah, you can do that.
CFL.ca?
Yeah, CFL.ca. Takes you to the CFL league. Follow the
Why
links.
is McAfee telling me that this is a risky site? Why is my virus protection coming up?
Is McAfee...
it's flagging the CFL site. Wow, they do have fantasy. How
Absolutely,
about that?
man. They have fantasy everywhere, including the CFL. So, are you going to play it? You going to get a team?
I'm going to make a team.
That is fantastic, man. All right. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. More of East Carolina Sports Show on Your Ride Home is coming up.